it's time to see how corpora are relevant to the teaching of English language. Corpora has now become one of the catchphrases, popular phrases in the teaching and learning of English language, and many teachers and learners of English are rapidly becoming the consumer of corpus-driven language materials. However, it's not surprising to see that many teachers and learners are still not able to identify the real nature of corpora. And we believe only after they realize the real nature of corpora and the knowledge we gather from it, we will be able to use them properly and to the best benefit of ourselves and for our students. Corpus can contribute to language teaching in many ways. For example, the insights which we derive from the corpus of native speakers or native users of English language may help us in an accurate description of English language. And therefore, it will lead to further help us in compiling various dictionaries and grammars which would emphasize on correct use of the language. The analysis of learner corpora can help us knowing the needs of learners in various learning contexts, both in native situations and also in non-native situations. And we could develop various materials based on such knowledge for various contexts. We can also look into the typical grammatical or language errors committed by people using or learning the same language in their own context. So we could develop various materials based on their own needs, and therefore this may also lead us in developing some learner dictionaries and grammars. A good research of corpora and a detailed investigation of the development of corpora, especially that related to learners' use of language, may also help us in developing our understanding about the process of language learning. Corpora can also help us in developing some examination for the language to which learners are exposed within and outside the classroom. And it can also help us in developing some effective pedagogical materials. Corpus-based research has also shown recently some inadequacy of the rules which are being taught in many language classrooms. Some rules have gone in abeyance for a long time, but they are still being taught in various language classrooms. So corpus-based studies show us that language might have developed new uses or new ways of using them. Therefore, we should focus on learner corpus in order to develop an understanding about such factors. For example, a recent study shows that conditional clauses as being taught traditionally are no longer used in many learning contexts. So there is a need to revise the rule according to the use of such situations in various parts of the world. Learner corpora can also help us in the development of various language tests, especially proficiency tests, and such corpora has not been utilized so far for this purpose, and this usefulness of corpora remains underexploited. We need to understand a learner's corpora before we test them for their proficiency, because especially in relation to English language, which is being taught in various parts of the world and is being used quite extensively, it has developed different varieties in various parts of the world. So it would be quite unfair to test people who are studying this language as a second or foreign language on the patterns which are developed for the native speakers. So by knowing learner corpora, we may be able to develop language tests which are according to the need, use, and proficiency of second language learners. And corpus-based research has also helped us in developing materials according to various classroom needs. And it may also help us in developing various classroom activities through which we can make maximum use of corpus-based materials. There are two main areas in which corpora can benefit language teaching and learning. First, by incorporating the latest corpus-based findings into language syllabus, teaching materials, and dictionaries. And then by encouraging teachers and learners to examine language patterns in various corpus materials. And therefore, teachers and learners themselves can devise activities, learning activities for themselves, which would help them developing some independent learning habits. Another important aspect of corpora-based material is that they provide us a realistic view of the language use. And examples we get in corpora are quite real, and therefore we can know language as it is being used in streets or in the classrooms in reality, instead of knowing a language in an ideal shape in a textbook way. So corpora can also provide us some good examples of real language use. Alderson is also convinced that corpora can also be used for developing tests in various situations. So corpora-based materials can be very useful for teaching language, especially English language, because we have so many fully developed corporas available for English language. So teachers, I believe, in the contemporary world should make best use of these corpora and should develop some useful activities for their students.